Well, we're halfway through the month, and you can see by the stack of books, we got some stuff to talk about. I want to start this video by giving a huge shout out to my new top tier wizard master, Chris, the bearded book beast. Thank you so much for your support. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today guys, you can see things are a little different. I've been trying some kind of new things in the setup, trying with some framing, see if you can see the desk a little bit more instead of just like this part of me. I don't quite know what to do with the microphone, but let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. But we're going to kind of just jump right on into this mid-month wrap-up. Before we do so, please do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for links to all of my social media, including Discord, Patreon, Instagram, Goodreads. All of that is right there for you to explore if you want to do so. And yeah, we've got some stuff to talk about, as you can see by the big stack of paper that I've got right here. And essentially, we've got some changes up to the TBR. I know I did a whole TBR video with Tori earlier on in the month where we did a whole rock, paper, scissors thing that was going to kind of decide the TBR. And essentially, what this kind of has led to is some changes. So we're going to talk about the DNFs because I do have some DNFs. I do have some not for nows and stuff like that. One of the DNFs is, of course, right here, Neverwear by Neil Gaiman. And I've tried this one like 2 or 3 different times. I've bounced off it every single time. And I thought a good compromise was going to be, hey, I'm going to go ahead and spend $24 and I'm going to get the 1996 BBC America. Well, I can't say BBC America. BBC America is what it's called here in the States. The BBC television adaptation of Neverwear. And I'll just watch it. I've watched one episode. It was sufficiently weird enough that I'm like, this book probably wasn't going to be for me anyway. And I have been meaning to watch an episode every night, and I still haven't done it. So I just don't think that this is one that is necessarily for me. So we're going to go ahead and DNF this one and just say, yeah, it just wasn't for the wizard. We're going to kind of put that over there and see what that looks like. Again, this is all new framing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Then the next DNF we have, this one's going to be a little bit hard to swallow. We've got Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Now, this is a DNF simply because I just am kind of whelmed by it. I think it's a really good book, but I feel no desire to really continue the story. I read about 24% of this last month, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good, but I had other books that were calling to me, so I just kind of put it down. I came back and I read another 30% of it, and the same thing has happened. I just don't feel like it's calling to me. I feel like when I'm reading this, I could be perfectly happy reading it, or just move on and I wouldn't miss anything. I see the comparison to The Stand now, because even though this is nuclear fallout and The Stand is more of a biological weapon type of deal where, like, you know, a disease has come through and just annihilated humanity, this one's more nuclear fallout. And I think this has a better story than The Stand, but I think The Stand has more compelling characters. I'm not invested in Swan Song enough to be like, okay, I hit 54%. And I'm looking at it, and I'm in part 2, and I'm like, that is a long road to the end of this novel. Do I want to invest the time? And I think the answer is no. And I still have the audiobook for this, so I'm going to be letting go of my physical copy. I still have the audiobook for this, so I am open to coming back to this. But, I mean, I don't feel necessarily compelled to finish the book. And that's nothing against Swan Song. Like I said, I think it's very well written. I think it's got an amazing story. It's just not pulling me in. And so for that reason, I mean, you can see how big of a just husky book this is. So I think I'm going to let this one go and just move on to something that I'm going to have a little bit more fun reading. So this is nothing against Swan Song. I actually think that this is a very good book. I just don't think it's a book that's necessarily for me. So we're going to kind of put that in the DNF stack. Let's see if I can move that over there so it's just kind of out of the way. Oh, of course, my headphones have to make a cameo appearance. So there is that fun stuff. Next up, we've got an NFN. we've got NC Scrimger's Those Left Behind. This is sci-fi. I've been really having a lot of fun with my sci-fi reads lately. I kind of want to set, like, I did all this work to get everything so you could see my desk a little bit, and I want to put books there so that you can see them, because I've been told I move books around far too often in frames. I'm hyperactive, but then my default is, well, why am I just putting it there? I should wave it around. I don't know. Let me know in the comments which you prefer. Do you prefer I just stick it there, or do you prefer I have it in my hand? Either way, I love this cover. This is book 1 of the Way Stations, and this was a very quick NFN, not for now. I've been reading a lot of darker stuff lately, and this was going to be a dour, grimmer book. It's very evident very early on that this is a darker sci-fi. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want something a little bit more fun, a little bit more bright. And this is just kind of too much dour right now, and I need to kind of save this for when maybe I need something to kind of balance out all the fun, happy reads that I'm doing. So this one is just kind of going back on the shelf for now, because it's just like, I'm not in the mood for something quite this dark right now. But again, gorgeous cover, and I will be returning to this one. So that one's right there. Because I removed NC Scrimger's, I went and reached for a book that was in the Rock, Paper, Scissors video, but got beaten out, and that is The Blue Flames by Jacqueline Hagan. This is book 3 in the Riverfall Chronicles. Book 4 just came out. I was actually in a live stream for the launch party over on John and Talking Story. We had Kay's Hidden Shelf, we had Tori Talks, myself, Dr. Philip Chase. It was a great time. There was some mini games in there, and it was just a lot of fun. And that live show actually made me want to come back and kind of catch up on the series. So we've got The Blue Flames right here. This is book 3, and I'm very excited for this because A, it's got a fantastic audiobook, and B, like, Jackie can just write. So I'm very excited for this, especially from where we left off with the cliffhanger of the Spider Key. I need to know what happens with Blue Flames. So yes, we are adding that to the TBR. It is being subbed in. Now for the stuff that I've either finished or I am currently working on. There is a video review coming out for Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I loved this book. It was a very rough 5 stars. There's a couple critiques. I wasn't a big fan of all of the swearing, but when I was told that this was like vampires done right, I was expecting a more vampire forward story. And instead what I got was a really compelling dark fantasy with vampires in it as the kind of the main villains. And I really enjoyed that. This really reminded me very much so of Anthony Ryan's Blood Song. I would actually compare the two. They're very, very similar. Gabe is a compelling character. A different take on a little bit of a love interest, the journey, the jumping around timelines, the chronicles, the nested narrative. I really enjoyed everything going into this. And if you want my full thoughts, I do have a book review coming out of this. I was very excitable in that book review. So when it drops, just keep in mind it's going to be a bit choppy because I stumbled over my words quite a bit while I was filming that. But it is coming. I did love this, and I'm unhauling this edition because I do have some special editions that I was able to acquire thanks to a patron of the channel, Ryan. Huge shout out to Ryan. Thank you so much for allowing me to acquire some of your special editions, and they will be cherished in my collection once they arrive. And I'll be sure to gush about them in my upcoming book haul. So again, huge thank you to my patron, Ryan, for coming through clutch for me. But yeah, Empire of the Vampire, very good. And I will preface, I started this one in June and finished it in July. So I didn't just read Empire of the Vampire, because this book is thick. Coming in at, I think, around 720 pages, at least for the American hardcover. Fantastic audio, by the way. Then we've got The Making Money of It All by Sir Terry Pratchett. And I was very excited for this one coming off of Going Postal. This is kind of book 2 in that I'm going to air quotes trilogy it because there is 3 books with Moise von Lipwig. So therefore that kind of constitutes a trilogy. It's not an official trilogy that I know of. You can feel free to correct me in the comments if you are a kind of Discworld savant and you know that, hey, that should have probably been prefaced as it was in fact an actual realized trilogy. Then I am open to being corrected. I'm rambling at this point, but essentially we've got Making Money here. And this is a bit of a disappointment coming off of Going Postal. Not that it's bad. It was just kind of a bit of a recycled plot. We've still got Moist, but instead of him coming in to revitalize the postal service, it's him coming back to save banking. But not really, because that's not really the focus of it. There's kind of ancillary stuff that's going on in the background of the books. We have a weaker cast here because Grote and Stanley are mentioned. I think Stanley makes a couple kind of cameos here. Hey, look at this hardcover, though, by the way. It's gorgeous. So we've got a less intriguing cast than we had in Going Postal, and we've got some kind of recycled ideas. It was good. I would give it about a 3.5 to a 4. Heck, let's do a grading system. If I had to give this an A plus through an F, I would probably give this like a C plus to a B minus. Let's say that there, because simply it felt a little bit recycled from the ideas from Going Postal, but I still enjoyed it, and I will wrap up this trilogy in the next couple months. I was going to read Raising Steam. There we go. I can say that next month, but I don't think that's going to happen. I just need a little bit of a break because I kind of went from Going Postal to making money, and I was a little bit whelmed instead of, overwhelmed. So we've got that. I then read Day Zero, and you're going to kind of start seeing a theme of being whelmed here this month so far. I thought that this was just good. I thought it was okay. This is kind of jumping back in time from Sea of Rust. I think if you read this before you read Sea of Rust, you'll probably have a better experience with it. But a lot of this was kind of covered in Sea of Rust in flashbacks. So I thought this was interesting. I thought it had good characters. I liked the, what's the Pounce? Pounce is the name of the main character who's a robot. He's kind of this nanny tiger to this young boy. And during the kind of robot revolution, we kind of see that as it happens and how it unfolds. And yet you kind of know how things, like, despite how the book ends, if you've already read Sea of Rust, you kind of can read past what happens. So this one was just kind of, again, another, let's give it a B minus. I thought it was good. I thought it was really well written. But if I had already read Sea of Rust, this just kind of felt a little bit of more of the same. So those are my thoughts there. Traitors We Are by Michael Roberti. I read this one. I've just got bookmarks in all of my stuff, and I need to start taking out the bookmarks. Anyway, Traitors We Are by Michael Roberti. This is Indie Pub, and I'm going to start off by saying this. Michael Roberti can write. And not only can Michael Roberti write, if there was somebody who I would recommend as a potential candidate that George R.R. Martin doesn't finish A Song of Ice and Fire, I would actually recommend Michael Roberti. This feels like a stripped down A Song of Ice and Fire with just fewer factions, a tighter cast of characters. He calls this the Traitorverse. And the first 80% of this book, I was on board. And then there is a lot of betrayals in the last kind of 20%. It all comes to a head very quickly, and it all happens very fast. To the point where, like, I didn't see a lot of that coming, and I didn't see how a lot of that connected. And so I have kind of some issues with the last 20% of this book. I still think it's a really well done, and I love Michael Roberti's writing, and he's created an interesting world with some interesting characters. Some of the betrayals kind of came out of nowhere and feel a hair unearned, in my opinion. And so that's kind of where we're at with Traitors We Are. If we're going to give this one a letter grade, I think we're going to give this one a B. We're going to give this one a B. It's a little bit more than a B minus because I did just enjoy the characters and the world and the factions and the backstabbing and stuff like that. The end of part 1 blew my hair back. But the last 20% of the book just felt a hair unearned for me. So that's where the Wizard's going to come down kind of on the Traitors We Are. Very good book, though. And again, if I had to recommend somebody to finish out A Song of Ice and Fire, it would probably be Mike Roberti. Now, what I am currently reading is these two books. We've got Crucible of Chaos by Sebastian de Castell. And essentially, what we've got here is we have got a follow-up book to the Greatcoats. That's what this is. And it's really, really good. I'm about 80% through this as of the time of recording. I should probably finish it up today. And we've got Estevar, who is this Greatcoat. He's been called to this abbey where basically, you know, if you following the events of the Greatcoats, there are some things that happen that have real world ramifications, and that's kind of being addressed here in this book. And I like this one because it's got some horror elements. It's got a great Sherlock-style murder mystery. Esvar's brilliant. I'm not entirely sure yet. As of 80%, I feel like there's a continuation issue here where some stuff needs to be explained, because right now, as of 80%, it feels like continuation errors, which I can't 100% say that has happened yet. We've got some characters who were introduced earlier on in the book. Well, we've got a character who's introduced early on in the book, and then he kind of fades into the fog, and then he just pops up at around part the 6th, and then like starts interacting with the characters in a way that doesn't feel correct. It feels like he would have popped in on a different draft of the book, but also like we've got a character who has got some mysterious circumstances going on. We don't really know what's going on with her. And so I would like to kind of have those questions answered before I straight up say this was a continuation error. I'm just not confident enough to say that as of the time of recording. I will say this though: entertaining, fun, action-packed, great mystery, and as of right now, it's a B+. As of right now, even with those continuation errors, this is very, very good. Great return to the Greatcoats world, and Tristia and all of the stuff that's going on there. And one thing I will say, it's been a number of years since I've read the Greatcoats. This book does an amazing job of reminding you of the broad strokes of the important plot points that happened within the Greatcoats books, so that you could just start here. You don't necessarily need to read the Greatcoats. It reminds you of major plot points, world-changing elements and stuff like that. This is done really, really well. So I'm very excited to have finally gotten around to reading this. And it's just a gorgeous edition. I love this book. I do. I love the way this looks on the shelf. So there's that. And then finally, we have got The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. This is Covenant of Steel, Book 1. And you can kind of see where I'm at right now. I think I'm about... Where am I? About 35% of the way through this. It's very good. It's Anthony Ryan. You know what you're going to get. This is a gritty fantasy. And the first 20% of this book, I was like, eh. And then he shakes it up on you, and you get into the rest of the first part of the book, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. And now we're kind of to a point where, like, I've read the dust jacket flap on the inside, and I'm like, how are we going to get to that point where the dust jacket flap is in play? Because as of about 35 to 40%, we're not even there yet. So that's very interesting. I am giving this an A at this point. It is very good. It's very polished. It's compelling. It's intriguing. I'm really enjoying this. So as of about 40%, this is getting a letter grade of A. And that's kind of where we're at the midpoint of the month. I hope your reading month is going very well at this point. Let me know what you think of the new setup, of the new format. Is it something you'd like to see? Would you like to see me take it back to the way it was before? I know you get to see more of the bookshelf this way, and it's very interesting. But yeah, that's all I've really got for today, guys. It's been an interesting reading, first half of the reading month. So far, I would have to probably give it a B in terms of reading quality and things of that nature. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the month holds for me. Let me know in the comments how your reading month has been going. Until next time, guys, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.